Welcome back to our 32 for 32 NFL preview series. I am Michael Lipinski. I am joined, as always, by Brett Halpern. And as you can see, we are talking Cleveland Browns football. And I know people in Ohio are excited. I'm excited too, Brett. They got new uniforms. So how can you not be excited? New old uniforms, I should say.
Yeah. We should be I know we're cutting each other off. This is good. We should just be celebrating that they're getting rid of those hideous uniforms.
Yeah, I don't get it. Why? I mean, I get it. NFL, Nike want to make things nice. The Browns had, for what it was, a classic look that should have just stayed. Tweak things here and there, throw an alternate jersey in. I actually don't mind their color rush, the all brown, although they look like a turd. Neither here nor there. Maybe an all orange, that kind of thing. I like them. I like their traditional uniforms. I'm kind of glad that they went back to it. Not that it matters.
Yeah, I just would like them to incorporate more with the orange pants circa 1980 with the cardiac kids.
I wonder if they eventually do, because as long as it's in your uniform program, you don't have to declare it, so to speak. You can just do it, and that would be a good look.
Yeah, it's I hate all of these limitations regarding the helmet and all. It makes no sense to me. This is about enjoyment, and plus I don't want them to change the uniform, the jersey. You're not doing that. I mean, we're not even asking you here to change the helmet. Just mix up the pants occasionally.
Yeah, exactly. Do you think they should throw a bulldog on the helmet at any point, or brownie?
No,
just leave it be.
A brownie isn't like the dessert?
No, the mascot brownie, like the elf-looking thing.
Why is it an elf?
I don't know.
But isn't their mascot the dog?
Yeah, but they have an older one that's like an elf.
By the way, I don't think it's bulldogs. Isn't it bull mastiffs?
Whatever it is, it's a dog.
There's a difference between a bulldog and a bull mastiff.
Yeah, there's the dog pound. Anyway. Let's get started here. First time we've had this in our 32 for 32. Coaching changes. Head coach Kevin Stefanski, Alex Van Pelt, OC, Joe Woods. Complete overhaul in Cleveland. And as you can see, 6-10 a year ago, they probably very much need it.
Yeah, I mean, Freddie Kitchens, who had taken the job. The Browns essentially gave him the job because Baker Mayfield liked him, which I don't really think, even though Baker Mayfield is your quarterback, I don't think that alone should be a sufficient reason to do so. And Freddie Kitchens, unfortunately, was in over his head, but it's okay. He's rebounded. He is now the tight end coach for the New York Giants. So hopefully he fares better in that venture. Nevertheless, I think Stefanski, even though he is a first-time head coach, he'll sort of just kind of settle things down. You got to get back to fundamentals. This team was making too many mistakes. They were playing too hot-headed, emotional. I think that was clearly evidenced by what Myles Garrett did. And, you just need slow and steady sometimes wins the race. And don't beat yourselves.
Some people were predicting them a year ago to be not a Super Bowl team, but make a deep playoff run. And here we are changing coaches.
Yeah, I will. And that's because, you know what? Look, when you look at this roster, you look at it projected too deep on this team. It is a very talented team.
It is a very talented team. Yeah.
It's even more talented this year. So I think just with better coaching and better just harping on the fundamentals. If they don't beat themselves, they should. They don't beat themselves. They're at least 8-8.
Let's get into it. Let's get into acquisitions, opt-outs, departures. We've reviewed the record and the changes made as from the head coaching aspect. There's a couple things here that I really like from the acquisition standpoint. Austin Hooper, I think, is a nice addition there. But Jack Conklin, I mean, that's a fantastic add from an offensive line perspective. When we discussed this with Tennessee, I thought they maybe should have paid him a little bit more. This is a good pickup for Cleveland.
This is gigantic. I mean, I think if you were to say what was Cleveland's biggest weakness last year, or their biggest deficiency, I think it was the offensive line, and that may have played a big part in why Baker Mayfield regressed from his rookie campaign. And to just get Jack Conklin in there, plug and play, one of the best right tackles in the league, that was a tremendous signing. Austin Hooper, I think, also that helps as well, because now with him, David Njoku, who for a little while was asking for a trade, but has since said he's happy to stay in Cleveland. Now you can run a lot of 21 personnel and 2 tight ends, and I think that will really help out, and that further assists the offensive line with blocking, and will help keep Baker Mayfield upright and not with a lot of guys in his face. So I think it's a really good, it's a really solid pickup. Carl Joseph's a good safety, good strong safety. They got him and Andrew Sendejo. I think they're going to probably compete for the strong safety spot. Case Keenum, I think, is as steady as she goes quarterback, who will be a good calming influence for Baker Mayfield, because he's not being brought here to compete against Baker Mayfield. It's to help him out.
But if they need to go in another direction, that's not a bad quarterback to have, especially knowing the system.
Yeah, exactly.
He's a system guy. And Anderson Dejo.
Yeah, and then go Adrian Claiborne, I think, just provides some good depth along the defensive line. B.J. Goodson, for those Giant fans out there, remember him. He was a former, I believe it was 4th or 5th round pick of the Giants. He's a decent inside linebacker, more of a run defense guy as opposed to it's a little bit of a liability in the pass defense. Andy Janovich is one of the better fullbacks in the league, though. As we've discussed, I'm more partial to Mike Burton, but nevertheless, always helps out. And by the way, the other thing with Jack Conklin, we talked about that offensive line struggled, and yet they still had one of the leading rushers in the league with Nick Chubb. And Jack Conklin comes from a team where they really like to pound it in Tennessee, so I think that's only going to help the run game as well. In terms of the departures, I think probably the biggest name there would be Christian Kirksey, who's a good very active linebacker. I think B.J. Goodson will partially replace him with the run defense component. Demarius Randall did not work out. He's now going to be used as a safety. He was kind of used as a corner and a safety sometimes in Cleveland, just did not work out. Morgan Burnett was getting up there in age. Demetrius Harris was an interesting tight end prospect, but just didn't really pan out. Wasn't really worth the money. Rashad Higgins is a decent 3rd or 4th receiver, but definitely something, you could find another guy there. In terms of the opt-outs, I'd say that the biggest name there is probably Andrew Billings, who's coming over from Cincinnati. He was kind of meant to be like the defensive tackle, nose tackle, play the one technique position. So he'll be missed a little bit. Then they had a lot of guys on the offensive line that opted out, including Rutgers fans may know that bottom name, Malcolm Pridgeon, former commit, who then wisely decommitted and played at Ohio State. But so there's going to be a lot of backups and depth issues along the offensive line because of the opt-outs.
Let's get to their draft. The draft I actually thought was was okay. I like the direction they were going. Your thoughts on it? Anybody stand out here? For me, one of Donovan Peoples-Jones for a 6th round pick. I think that's a nice little pickup to see what happens there. But give me your rundown.
Well, I definitely agree with you. I think Donovan Peoples-Jones was an excellent 6th round pick. I mean, this class in general, the draft class, not just the Browns, the whole league. We'd always discussed how deep it was a wide receiver, but to get Donovan Peoples-Jones in the 6th round to me was a steal. He battled some injury issues at Michigan, but I think his biggest issue was he never really had a quarterback. I mean, even Shea Patterson he was not a great passer. He managed the offense. He was athletic enough to run around, but so I think Donovan Peoples-Jones is an exceptional athlete. So I think that was a really good pick. I love Jedrick Wills. If you'll recall, back when I did the mock draft, I wanted the Giants to take him at number 4. I had him rated as the best offensive tackle. So even though he played right tackle in college, I think that he has the feet to come in and play the left tackle spot. So now you have him and Conklin. That just, excuse me, it's a tremendous upgrade over last year's tackles. I think what's going to really make this draft class is their second round pick, Grant Delpit. So Grant Delpit, after the 2019 college season, was a top 10 pick. A lot of people viewed him as the next Jamal Adams. Frankly, his tape last year, I thought he was more like a third round pick. But because of the flashes he had shown the year before, that's why he was taken in the second round. It is a major boom or bust pick there. But if people are thinking if you partner him up with his old teammate Greedy Williams, who they have a cornerback that might help out. So that's really going to be an interesting pick. Jordan Elliott, I really liked, defensive tackle, very athletic. Jacob Phillips, another LSU guy. He kind of played second fiddle to Patrick Queen, but he was also really good. And then, we talked about Austin Hooper and David Njoku. They also picked up Harrison Bryant in the 4th round, one of the better tight ends in this draft class from Florida Atlantic. And then Nick Harris, the center from Washington, will provide some depth, in particular now that all of those opt-outs came from the offensive line except for Andrew Billings. But all in all, I thought this was a decent draft class. I mean, not a ton of picks, obviously, but definitely they landed, to me, what was the best tackle in the draft. I think they drafted somewhere between like 10 and 12. Grant Delpit, it could be a top 10 pick, and Donovan Peoples-Jones in the 6th round, great pick.
Yeah, that's one that really stands out. I really like. Let's get into it. 4 key questions for the Cleveland Browns in 2020. And like almost every team in the National Football League, it starts with the quarterback. Which Baker Mayfield do we see this year? Do we see the rookie Baker or the second-year pro Baker?
I think we're going to see more of the rookie, and namely because you're going to have a better offensive line. He seemed to just be consumed with he was looking too much at the oncoming pass rush as opposed to looking downfield, and also wasn't stepping up enough in the pocket. He was sort of just bowing out and getting sacked a lot. I really, it's clear he has the capability. Otherwise, he would not have performed the way he did his first year. And now throw in the fact that you should have what appears to be a healthy Odell Beckham. You have Jarvis Landry. You have Nick Chubb. You have these 2 really talented offensive tackles. I think it's more akin to what we're going to see, what we saw of him is his rookie year. I'm not saying he is a guaranteed Pro Bowler, but a solid quarterback.
I've been on the record as saying I like him. A lot of people don't like him for the antics. I think, at times it can be a little bit too much, but there's clearly a passion there. There's a kid that's had to work throughout his collegiate career, walk-ons, all that kind of stuff. I'd be interested in seeing him succeed. I'd like to see him succeed and see where it goes. Question number 2. Has Odell Beckham Jr. peaked?
Well,
that's a loaded question.
Yeah. Well, in one way, I would argue he has, because there was a moment in time when he was viewed as the best wide receiver in the league and probably the most talented player in all of the league. And I think that time has since passed. And, it's amazing to think he's already a 6th-year pro. So I don't see how you're not getting any younger. He's probably he's going to be, he's getting close to 30 years old. I think he can still be a Pro Bowl receiver, but I don't think he doesn't strike fear in the hearts of defenses the way he used to, I think.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. As an Eagles guy,
yeah,
I used to hate having to see him twice a year. And now I don't know that it's not that guy anymore.
I never, to me, and as a Giant fan, I never really liked him. Did I marvel at his ability? Yes. There were times when he could take over a game if he wanted to, but when it really counted, he really only showed up once or twice. He was not very clutch, and he's just a hothead. And I thought that was destructive to the Giants back when. And who knows? I think he's a bit of a diva. At least he's now with his best friend Jarvis Landry. So I think you could get a Pro Bowl receiver out of him. But that, as opposed to, I mean, he was almost not, I wouldn't say icon, but he was like this trendsetter, and he was must see TV. He's no longer must see TV.
Borderline, he was starting to become a generational player, and it went right down.
Yeah.
Let's talk defense. Over under combined sacks from Myles Garrett, Olivier Vernon, 22 and a half. That's a big number.
Yeah. Well,
how many helmet hits? I'm sorry.
No, you don't have to apologize to me. So Myles Garrett had what, like 10 or 11 sacks prior to the suspension. Here you assume that both are averaging 11. I think the problem here is Olivier Vernon, I think, is a better run stuffing defensive end than he is a pass rusher, and just does not deliver in terms of the sacks. I think the most he ever had for the Giants was 8. I think he's only had 1 year with double-digit sacks. So I think Garrett can hold up his end of the bargain, and I think if he plays the whole year and healthy, could get 13 to 16. But I don't think Vernon holds up his end of the bargain, so I'm going to go under.
I'm going to go under as well. It seems to be a rather high number. Anything happens.
Yep.
Question number 4. Has the secondary improved? Do we have an improved secondary in Cleveland?
I think so, and I'm primarily going to base that off of, I believe Grant Delpit is, I don't know if he's necessarily the top 10 talent that he was in 2019, but I think he's better than what he showed last year because he was playing with an injury. I think he had a bum ankle. Also, it's going to be the second year for Greedy Williams, who I believe is only just going to improve in his abilities. You have Denzel Ward, who's really good. And then whether it's Andrew Sandejo or Carl Joseph, I think the secondary will be improved.
We're going to wrap this episode up of our 32 for 32 on the Cleveland Browns. As you can tell, we think that the Browns have improved, even if just slightly. And sometimes that's all you need is a couple more wins here. 9-7 could get you into a playoff scenario. Hell, 8-8 can get you into a playoff scenario. If you like our program here, be sure to check us out to subscribe. When we get to the end here of our 32 for 32, we're going to have our big NFL preview show where we will actually lay out what we think the Cleveland Browns are going to do for 2020. You're going to see the little thing pop up here with our show in the fight and the goal line stand. So if you're an MMA fan, wrestling fan, boxing fan, you should subscribe to that. Obviously, we'd like you to subscribe here, drop a line, throw us a thumbs up. I'm Brett. No, I'm not Brett. I'm Mike. That's Brett. I don't know who I am today. I got so excited talking Cleveland football that I don't even know what's going on. We'll see you tomorrow.